Are there any questions with Arizona's skill position players? And if there are, could there be any drawbacks to this team going really far next year on the football field?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. Check it out. All right, we are going to go and we are going to talk about the glamour positions for Arizona football and just football in general, and that is the skill position. We're going to talk about, are there any question marks? Just how good can these units be? All of that and a lot more. But first, I guess we'll start at the quarterback position. Noah Fifita. I don't know that there's a quarterback in the country that I would rather have than Noah Fifita because, again, he does a variety of things, and he does a variety of things very, very well. He's able to spread the ball around, which is a huge aspect to what he does. I always bring up this quote, and I think it's a good quote, and I'm going to continue to use it, where one of the wide receivers' fathers messaged me a while back, and he said, the thing that we really like about Noah is that if my son gets open, he is going to get the ball. Noah is going to make sure that he gets the ball, and that is a good quality. Last year with JDL, there were a lot of times where it just felt like JDL was just locked in on one or two receivers, and he would just kind of run around and when in doubt, just kind of chuck it up deep or throw it out of bounds, whatever the case may be. When Noah took over, all of a sudden, there were a couple of things that happened. The offense started to stay on time, which was a big part. No longer, you weren't having all of these 2nd and 18s, 3rd and 14s. You were now dealing with 2nd and 5s, 3rd and 6s, whatever the case may be, which are much, much more convertible. And a big reason why is that was because Noah Fifita takes what the defense gives you, and that is a good thing. A big thing about this, big thing about Noah Fifita, though, is that the game also kind of comes easy to him. You can just tell, I always think back to that quote that Greg Biggins had where he said, I've scouted pretty much everybody on the West Coast for the last 25, 30 years. And when the chips are down, if I have to be able to, move the ball down the field, or I have to be able to get a first down and to seal the game away, it's going to be Noah Fifita who I'm going to have, who I want to have with the ball. And he's right. Noah Fifita was, how many times would you see in games where he wasn't necessarily even having his best game? I think to Colorado, or I think to the Oklahoma game. But when the chips were down, he was able to make the plays that were needed. And that's something a lot of times you can't really teach. You either have that or you don't. And he's got that, and he's got that in an abundance. And, it started from an early age. Listen, when you're at Servite and you play the schools that you do in that Trinity League, and then when you go to Arizona and you were able to do what he did, Arizona was going to lose that game against Stanford. JDL was terrible in that. JDL was pretty much bad all season. Noah Fifita comes in, not only leads them down the field to a touchdown, but also is able to salt the game away at the end. Fifita was just, like I said, Fifita did pretty much everything for Arizona. He was the National Freshman of the Year for a reason. It was well-deserved because of everything that he did. Just can't say enough about the kid as well. He is somebody that is just very much a staple, I guess, is to what Arizona wants to do. And he's somebody that should also be able to fit in pretty much any system. I get people all the time that ask me, how will he fit into Dino Babers' system? Here's where I'm at with Dino Babers' system. If Noah Fifita struggles, I'm putting that one on Dino Babers, because Noah Fifita has already proven himself, and he's proven himself in a big way. And I think you're going to look for a monster season out of him. And also, there's just something knowing that you're going into the year, you're the starter, you're not having to look over your shoulder. Nobody is really competing against you. People are competing to be the backup. And there's no reason that Noah Fifita should not be one of the best wide receivers, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And not only one of the best quarterbacks in the country, one of the best players in the country. That's how good we are talking about. Big, big, big expectations for Noah Fifita. Then looking at the backup positions, Braden Dorman. Braden Dorman decided to stick around for the University of Arizona, and this was a very good thing for Arizona because Arizona needed a backup quarterback. Not only did it need a backup quarterback, there wasn't really anybody else on the roster that was even close to being probably of that ilk to be able to be, if you go out on the field. Now, you say, who are the guys out there that if Noah went down, and this is it. It's Braden Dorman, and we'll find out. Again, Braden Dorman has not exactly lit the world on fire, but he's also done a pretty good job. And when I say a pretty good job, he's done a pretty good job of just, being a good teammate, not only being a good teammate, but just kind of, the one who's just kind of able to throw, do everything you need. And he's going to be needed if Arizona's going to go far. We will find out about that one. But I do think that Arizona is in a pretty good shape right here because you're going to have to add another quarterback. That's the other thing. You're going to have to add a quarterback. And a big part of that is, it's going to be interesting to see who they can get because it's not, not a lot of quarterbacks are going to say, well, yeah, I want to go someplace where I can't compete for a starting job. So maybe you get somebody that can just kind of be a placekeeper. I don't know exactly what you're going to do, but you got to be able to get a couple more. And if you can get a couple more, or maybe even just one more, I think you go into the year feeling pretty good about the entire situation. So we will certainly find that one out. But I do think that Arizona needs to be able to add one more quarterback. They add another quarterback, they're good. Listen, going into the year, I think you were probably thinking that, Damon Williams would be that other one. But obviously, Damon Williams is at Washington. I actually think Damon Williams is going to be very, very good at the University of Washington. That's going to be a difficult one to get away, but who really cares because we were just talking here about the U of A. But overall, the fact that the quarterback position is where it's at is a very, very good thing for the University of Arizona. And you've got a lot of help around the perimeter as well. We are going to get to that help. But first, FanDuel. All right. Now, in this day and age, you're always kind of wondering, all right, I want to be able to bet on something. But I don't know exactly where I can bet. And I want to be able to know that my money is good. So what you say to yourself is, why wouldn't I just go to FanDuel? FanDuel.com/lockedon is where it's at. Again, this is another one of those ones. You will thank me later for this because there are all kinds of good things at FanDuel. And you can bet before the game. You can bet after the game. You name it, they got it. You can check it out, FanDuel.com. Again, the NBA playoffs are here, and that is going to be a very, very, very fun thing to bet on. And say you're like me and you're not even into baseball, but you're like, all right, you know what would be fun? To bet on baseball because then I've got a little bit of my heart. Excuse me. Then I got a little bit of my hard-earned money in the game. So check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, now we have a new sponsor as well. Monopoly Go. Ooh, Monopoly Go. All right, this is a fun game that is sweeping the nation, and everybody's played Monopoly in the past. Not only has everybody played Monopoly in the past, you probably had a good time playing Monopoly. And that's because it can drive you up a wall, but at the same time, you also know that it's fun. It's one of those things that's hair-raising, but it's fun at the same time. Monopoly Go free. Download Monopoly Go free on the App Store at Google Play. Go there and, again, get Monopoly Go. It will be fun. Roll the dice and get rich in Monopoly Go. Own it with all by exploring the boards and building cities. Play with friends and family and enjoy this new twist on a classic game. Hit go, take a break, escape Enjoy, dream, scheme, and stay in touch with newly reimagined twists to Monopoly. Monopoly Go. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk about the wide receiver position. Arizona's got the best wide receiver in the country in Teteroa McMillan. I will hear nothing other than this. He is the best wide receiver. I know a lot of people are going with Luther Burden from Missouri. He's very, very good. I get all that. But if T-Mac was in the SEC, this would be the most no-brainer of no-brainers that, yes, T-Mac is the best wide receiver in the country. And we've all seen it. We all know why. He's a huge dude that he has hands that you just generally don't see in football or anywhere, in that he can catch things one-handed. He can look around. And you can also see him where he can just kind of snatch the ball out of thin air. Some of the stuff that he can do is just amazing. You can put him in as a jump ball threat. He also showed last year the ability to be able to get a little bit more burst, a little bit more separation. And that's something that is, I think, very, very enticing if you're an NFL team. He's going to be a first-round pick next year. This will be his last year in college, so enjoy him while you can, the University of Arizona fans. He will leave here as the best wide receiver in school history, and just somebody that's cut from a different cloth. Just like Noah Fifita, this dude is cut from a different cloth in that he could have gone pretty much anywhere. He could have been a millionaire couple times over. That's how good he is. But he decided he was going to hold off for a year. And when he holds off for a year, he is going to go down, I think, in Arizona fans' hearts as an all-time favorite for everything that he went through, the way that he went about doing things the right way, and just being an absolute boss. You know, for the longest time, I thought that Dennis Northcutt was the best wide receiver in school history. I held off on that one as long as possible, but T-Mac's better. Just is. He's more imposing. He can, and what really, really, I think impressed me was he went also to become a little bit more of a more dynamic, catch the ball and then be able to get the ball upfield, which I didn't know that he necessarily had in his bag of tricks. And you know, I think he's probably going to run a faster 40 than a lot of people think. Louis Riddick is obviously very, very big on T-Mac, and there's a reason why, because Louis Riddick is smart and T-Mac is very good. So Arizona, there's not a better wide receiver in the country than Teteroa McMillan. Then look at some of the other wide receivers. I love Kevin Green. I think that Kevin Green is going to be able to replace a lot of the production that occurred with Jacob Cowing. He's kind of similar dimensions, a little bit bigger, but he's also someone that when he gets in the game, you just kind of notice him. He's able to get the ball, or he's able to catch the ball. He's able to kind of get upfield. You just kind of notice him. He's a good football player, and Arizona is very, very lucky to have him. I think that he's going to be somewhere around 700-800 yards. That's where I'm looking at. And honestly, I think that those are more than fair expectations for him. He's a talented dude. Big fan, though, of what he can do. Also, Malachi Riley. Love Malachi Riley. Whenever he got in the game last year, he was able to, he was just a little bit different. He was able to kind of get the ball upfield, and he was able to kind of be a game breaker. He was a bigger dude, obviously, but he was also able to get behind the defense a number of times. I like Riley a lot. I think that Malachi Riley is going to be a very good player. Then another one, Montana Lemonious Craig. Now, one thing I didn't like about last year's coaching staff was that they essentially refused to play multiple wide receivers. And for the first time, you're going to have a coaching staff that is going to play multiple wide receivers. That is a big, big aspect. And so we'll find out there. But I like Montana Lemonious Craig a great deal, or not a great deal, but I am intrigued that they are going to play a lot of these different receivers throughout, and he's going to be one of them. So there's four. And I think you also have to look at Jackson Holman. Jackson Holman has shown a lot of people that, he can be maybe more than just a possession receiver. When he was obviously in California, he was a possession dude. And I think he was recruited by a lot of people here thinking he'd be a possession wide receiver. But he's shown that he can be a little bit more than that. And not only can he be a little bit more than that, maybe somebody that can really get into that rotation. But I think you've got a clear-cut top 4 from just an overall talent perspective. Obviously, T-Mac's not coming off the field. Kevin Green, Malachi Riley, Montana Lamonius Craig. But then after that, maybe you get Jackson. Maybe you can get Jackson Holman. Is that next one? And we will find out from there. But there's a lot to like at that wide receiver unit. Similarly, the tight end unit. So Roberto Miranda. This is not one that I saw coming, that's for sure. I thought that this would be Kean Burnett's job. I still think it probably will be Kean Burnett's job. But Roberto Miranda has opened up a lot of eyes. And I honestly forgot he was even on the team. I want to say he was a Sumlin recruit. But he can catch the ball, and he can catch the ball. He's big, he's physical, and this new coaching staff is very, very enamored with him, and rightfully so. He's a big dude. He's really, not only is he big, he can catch the ball, and he's shown that he's got a little bit of a wiggle to him, which I didn't think he really had. So he is he is your number 1 tight end, and he's going to be your number 1 tight end probably going into the season. I don't see anything to indicate that he won't. And behind him, then I think you're going to have a lot of players that are going to be vying for playing time. Kean Burnett, uber talented. Love Kean Burnett. Would love to see him get on the field a little bit more. I think that there's a good opportunity for him there. And then you've also got Dorian Thomas and you've got Tyler Powell. So you've got a 4-headed wide receiver, tight end unit where I think they can all theoretically play a good deal. I like all of them. And this coaching staff, and, we've talked about it. One thing about this coaching staff is they are going to utilize the tight end, and they are going to utilize the tight end a lot. And honestly, I like it because, again, if you got a lot of good tight ends, why not utilize them? And they've got a lot of good tight ends. So that's something that I think from an Arizona perspective, you're going to be excited about. You got 4 tight ends out there along with those receivers. And that's why I think that so many people are very bullish on the year that Noah Fifita can have, because he's certainly got the players around him to be able to get the ball to and to be able to kind of get out of their way and let them make plays. So, again, that's good on Noah Fifita, and that is really, really good for Arizona. Now, we're going to talk next about some of the running backs, some of the players that can take a little bit more of the pressure off of Noah Fifita, because, again, this is probably the deepest unit in the on the entire team. And that's saying something because there are not a lot of units that are deeper than, say, the wide receiver spot, but Arizona does have something there at that running back spot. But first, LinkedIn. Check out LinkedIn. All right, here, everybody's gotten a job through LinkedIn. You probably got a job through LinkedIn. I haven't, but that's only because I'm an idiot and I'm not on LinkedIn, but I should be. Maybe I wouldn't be sitting here. But LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Whether you're an employer or you're looking to get a job, this is where you want to be. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Now, here's the thing. In this day and age, it's about being able to put your best foot forward, being able to impress the right people. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege is here for you. The reason why is that word of mouth is everything, and everybody goes on LinkedIn. The reason everybody goes on LinkedIn, check it out, whether you're looking to hire or whether you're looking to get your own job, LinkedIn. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, let's talk the running back position. This is a loaded running back unit, and a big part of it is that you've got a bunch of different dudes who can play, and not only a bunch of different guys that can play, a bunch of guys that you feel pretty comfortable giving the ball to a lot. And you're looking at, let's talk Quali Conley at first. Quali Conley from San Jose State is legitimately really, really good. Somebody that can get about 10, somebody that can get about, he got 6-7 yards per pop. He was very, very good at high school. and or excuse me, in college. And I think you're going to see more of that. He's looked really good in the spring. He's a, he's a little bit of a bigger dude, so I don't think that there shouldn't be really any concern about him being able to hold up. He was, like I said, he was very good at San Jose State, and he is going to be right in that competition. I think this is going to be kind of a three-headed monster like it was this past year, and he is going to be squarely in there. Now, the other one, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt from New Mexico State, probably the most talented out of all of them. You look at his height, you look at his weight. I mean, this is somebody that obviously was a really highly sought-after kid coming out. He went to New Mexico State and absolutely annihilated. 17 touchdowns, almost 1,200 yards. You name it, he was able to do a lot of really, really good things. So Arizona obviously wants him to be able to possibly be that bell cow. So between him and Quali Conley, you got your two traditional running backs, and I think one of those guys will be able to do that. But Speedy Luke, fam, all I need from him is 10 touches per game. That's all I care about, 10 touches per game, and Arizona will be more than okay. This coaching staff has given him a long, long look. They are obviously intrigued by him, as they should be, because he's good. That is the thing. It drove me up a wall last year. It appeared that, the coaching staff didn't really want to play. Didn't really want to play Speedy Luke for whatever reason. Jed Fish would always talk about fumbling problems, except he wasn't fumbling, or that he wouldn't have him return kicks. I still don't understand that, because I have a hard time believing that you're recruiting players and saying that you don't really want to return kicks, all of that stuff. Fam needed to be able to get the ball more. I think you're going to see him get the ball a lot more this year. Not only get the ball, I think he's going to be able to get 10, 12 touches per game. And if that happens, he's going to make people pay. We've seen it in games where he just has a next level football speed to him that other players just don't have. It's that simple. And when he gets going, he can make somebody miss. And it's not just functionals, or it's not just track speed, it's functional speed. He's put on a lot of really, really good weight as well. Arizona's lucky to have this man in the backfield, and I think those three are going to be a real problem for other teams. And that's not even counting somebody like a Jordan Washington coming in who's really, really good. I think Jordan Washington should probably redshirt, be able to get a little bit bigger, obviously from a muscular, from a strength perspective. And obviously, Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson's pretty good. Brandon Johnson, the speedster out of Palmdale as well. This is a loaded running back room. And it's a running back room that I think Arizona is going to be able to lean on in a big way. So overall, the skill position guys are really, really good for Arizona. And, we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to talk a little bit more tomorrow obviously, about where everybody is from a skill, what are the other positions? The offensive line, the defensive line, the linebackers, the defensive backs. But wanted to really kind of talk about that glamour position, because Arizona's loaded here. And Arizona should be able to have a very, very good season. They should be able to put up a lot of points. So we will talk about that even more. But that's what we're going to talk about coming up next. And we're going to talk a little bit of NFL as well, because the Wildcats are going to have a number of players that are going to be drafted in the NFL draft. It's going to be weird. It's going to be like going back to the future, seeing Arizona players that are picked in the NFL draft. But we will take that, because that gives us more content. That also shows that Arizona football is moving in the right direction. But as always, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. We're going to start hitting hot and heavy on football here, because this is a good football team with a lot of very interesting characteristics to it. We will be back with you tomorrow, though. Bear down, back the A, and thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day.